Hi guys and welcome back to SwitchUp. Thanks to the developers for providing this review copy. Welcome to all the new people, we are well on our way to 30,000 subscribers and Glen and I could not be more thrilled. We'll be announcing the winner of our Hellblade giveaway in the next list video due on Saturday. The draw of a good Hitman story is an enigmatic tale about an often psychopathic main character. It's the stuff that happens in between the carnage though that's most memorable. That's what you remember long after the claret has ceased to flow. Now that being said, a game needs to excel in both areas, as we are the ones controlling said Hitman, and that's where Katana Zero aims to be a cut above the rest. Is it? Let's find out. Katana Zero does a brilliant job of characterization. If you remember Leon, one of my favourites of all time, we saw Jean Reno perfectly portray the assassin, his friendship with a young Natalie Portman being the area us as the audience could relate to, but also the one we were most worried about. Between that and a small plant, they were his only connections to humanity. The character you play is the very epitome of this idea, and the story between missions places you in your small, dank apartment with only the thumps of loud neighbours or the crackle of the TV to keep you company. Small details like the nod to your OCD tendencies and having control over these sections give them more weight. You'll find yourself following set routines like having a herbal tea every night before bed. When the young neighbour is introduced, her presence is refreshingly innocent, an array of light, and these interactions between you and her make the story what it is. Now there is a wider narrative and a time travel mechanic of sorts, but I really don't want to spoil this, as discovering it is intrinsic to the gameplay. That being said, between each mission you will also visit a psychiatrist, and this serves to extrapolate on how you got your abilities. You will learn exactly why you are the way you are. There's a brilliant narrative reason for your character and I was supremely impressed with the delivery. Cutscenes allow you moments to respond and these may impact the end of the game. I was sad to see the game end and have already played through almost a second time. Now just as with Leon, the dichotomy between the two stars of the show is what elevates it. Story for me scores 18 out of 20. My only gripe is a somewhat abrupt ending, although there are at least two here. Described as a tough-as-nails action platformer where you're able to do many things, which mean that each handcrafted stage, which pits you against several enemies and traps, is beatable in one smooth run. You have a razor-sharp katana and the ability to slow time for a short period, as shown here. Rolling will render you invulnerable, and anything can kill you with one hit. I think you can see where this is going. If you die, time rewinds itself and you can do it all again. Top tip, once you've seen the rewind a few times, I personally disabled it, I found it a bit annoying. Stages will take patience and skill, and each death, of which you will experience hundreds, will teach you something. There is a real strategy here, combined with the necessity for speed due to a limited amount of time for each stage, which is also linked to the time shift storyline. It gives the game an urgency and keeps the pace elevated at all times. Enemies come in a few different varieties but will, importantly, require a specific method to dispatch by the player. These ones have a sword and must be parried before the killing blow is delivered, while these bruisers are a one-hit wonder but can also do the same to you, and others will be gun-toting or shield-bearing, each needing to be dealt with uniquely. This again adds to the on-the-fly strategy taking place in each level. Toss a timed explosive in any of their faces though, and they won't be getting back up. As well as the basic moves, you can deflect enemy fire by hitting these back from whence they came, combined with several available objects that can be manipulated to devastating effect, and the core mechanics will literally turn you into a killing machine. One small aside and something I really loved was that everything you do using the bullet time mechanic can in fact be performed in real time if you're fast enough. Superman would have had an absolute field day with this game. Each stage is split into several of these rooms and you must kill everyone to progress. Enemies will hunt you down if alerted to your presence, and using your katana to dash attack from a lower level or dropping John Woo style from the ceiling feels infinitely cool. The difficulty and almost instant restart speed mean that while frustration will set in at times, the strategic element shines more and more the further you get into the game, as not only must you plan a route that means you won't die, you need to do it fast. In light of this, each section will show a replay of what has just transpired. Strangely, this is opt-out, and you must press the X button to skip these. There are times you'll want to see them, but I don't really understand why they weren't opt-in rather than opt-out, as having them after each and every section gets a little irritating. Hopefully they patch in the option to disable them, and again, they are actually tied to the story in a way. Thankfully, the game mixes up the pace, and several missions, which you receive in the form of a highly combustible contract, such as this stealth one from earlier in the story, are here. There are some platforming-centric ones as well, using the same slowdown mechanic to assist you. Each small area of the game feels like an enclosed space designed almost as a murder sandbox, and trust me when I say, by the end of this game you will be most adept at that. Controls are very tight, you always feel in control, throwing items in any direction while falling slow-mo from the ceiling, rolling and decapitating two hapless guards before walking off and saying, "What were you worried about?" will be second nature. There are some excellent boss fights where the repetition and learning loop are pushed to the limit. For better or worse, unless you're some sort of Jedi, you're going to die many times to learn a specific pattern to victory after feeling like the task was initially literally impossible. When you do finally vanquish, the feeling is euphoria mixed with no small degree of relief. Any Sekiro players will have been feeling that for the last month. Frustration comes with the territory, and some slightly strange choices, such as the enforced replay, get a little wearisome, but as your character starts a stage, flicks the switch on his Walkman and gets his katana ready, you soon forget those small gripes. For me, gameplay scores 18 out of 20. Pixel art, bright neon colours and a great deal of synth are married together excellently. The game is blisteringly fast and one of the best implementations of a slowdown mechanic that I've seen. As the screen shifts and takes on a blue tint, bullets can be seen slowly making their way across, and it becomes more of a dance at times. I love the small detail of putting the headphones on at the start of a round and the music beginning. It's infinitely cool, and I found the musical choices really suit the environments. You get a good sense of the type of level from this alone. Character design is decent, but they could have used a few more unique ones in this regard. You will, seemingly intentionally, see a clone army of each variety, but perhaps they could have just tweaked the colours, or had unique versions of the same class. Sound effects are very good. Again, the most memorable audio is from the cutscenes. Visually, it looks lovely in motion, both docked and handheld are flawless and smooth, but I am, like many others, really beginning to fatigue of pixel art. That being said, it's handled very well, despite some visual repetition in a few areas, and the care of level design is excellent. The menu and level select screen with the old CRT TV and tape cassettes is also a nice nod to the past. Visuals score 17 out of 20 and the audio scores an equal 17 out of 20. The game costs £13.49, $14.99 or €14.99. Katana Zero will take you around 4 or 5 hours to complete. There are around 11 stages, with a bonus one at the end unlockable by finding some hidden items throughout the game. I didn't know there would be a hidden stage, and as such have begun playing through the game to find those hidden items, and I've actually found repeating it more enjoyable than the first time, as the first areas, which were once a tough challenge, can be breezed through without even using the bullet time mechanic. In terms of the value offered, there is no escaping that this game is quite short. Would I pay the price asked, knowing what the game offers as a total package? Definitely. This is a great experience in my opinion. If you're not a fan of tough games though, this is probably a wait for sale. They should have gone, in my opinion, with about £10 or $10. That would have been the sweet spot, but as I say, I enjoyed every moment, and the short-ish and very sweet approach is just fine with this style of game. Value scores 14 out of 20. As I said right at the start, this type of tale needs the downtime to be worthwhile, and the story woven throughout Katana Zero is excellently told and cleverly implemented. It scores a SwitchUp score of 84%. Truly, this is a fun game, not to be missed if you're a fan of this particular style. No easy modes allowed. Someone's gonna moan about that. For all things Switch all the time, keep it Switch up. See ya!